So what does being unconformed mean to you now? So you've struggled with this, and you're trying to find your way back. So we said that you had, you struggled with depression, anxiety, but the individual that's here now, what did you do to say, okay, I am going to look at this scripture differently? Be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. But wait, my mind is in turmoil. What happened?
It was a moment, really, I would say even a moment in time. I remember just intentionally planning ahead of time to take my life. And it was always just this date, this time, this method. I know exactly what's gonna happen, when it's gonna happen. And it was always interrupted. Now, I realize it was for a good reason.
Yep.
But at the time, I was just like, God, again, we're back here again. This is now the third time that I'm experiencing an interruption, so there must be a reason why I'm still here. A few months went by. Again, I didn't have any conversation with God. I prayed that one prayer, and I was like, okay, it is what it is. A few months later, I was on my way to work on the bus, and I started listening back to gospel music because I'm like, you know what? We're still here.
So there was change.
There was.
Change was happening. That's what I'm hearing.
And I heard, I felt in my spirit, the word revelation. And I was like, okay, what is that supposed to mean? Where's it coming from?
And it was sitting on your heart.
It sat. I was like, I feel like, I have a sense of drive, a little connection with clothing. You don't want to use the word purpose.
Okay.
I have a connection to clothing. And he was like, okay. I was like, yeah. And then I was like, okay, I think I have, somewhat idea of where I want it to go. And when I told him it was revelation, he said, I had that exact same word.
Confirmation.
And I was like, okay, God, if you really want me to do this, bring me the people. Bring me, line it up.
God did bring the people.
He did.
One, even before I even knew her. And I chose Chosen because, it spoke to me. And let's just go there. Revelation Atara has messaging. So we're still on the topic of renewing your mind and having that now change who you are and what your message is, and that,
finding yourself
and allowing the change to start from within. But then here comes the question, how did you now prioritize that so that your Christian identity is valid and maintained and and you don't slip back into that? What did you do?
I think it was starting with being intentional with my walk with God.
Okay.
It was more than saying that I came to church on Sunday,
right? More
than reading the Bible as a routine, more than just saying I wanted to do it because I felt like it was required of me, which it is. But at the time it was just, I want more. If I'm actually going to be here, I want to have a relationship with God. And that started with me listening to preaching during the week. That started with me actually waking up and setting time to have my devotions. Even if it was reading a Bible scripture, I decided to take notes. That decided with me praying continuously, whether it was 5 minutes, whether it was 10 minutes, whether it was...
And just having a real conversation with God. And, I'm going to, for our online audience, I would even like you to tell us, how do you even prioritize things so that your Christian identity is valid? Because a lot of times we feel like we have to do this long-winded prayer, or we have to, be travailing. And again, we're not saying any of that is wrong, but it's not always a path that you have to take.
Correct.
You need to have an open and honest relationship with God the way you can relate with him, because he sees the heart. But Trishon, it looked like you had a heart transplant. See where I got, she wanted to be a doctor, so we're gonna, But it starts there.
And that's how it started for me, where even if I was just listening to preaching in the background, something would grab my attention where it's like, okay, instead of cleaning, maybe I should actually sit and listen to what is happening on the screen. And that was conversations that needed to be happening.
Right.
Real conversation where I'm struggling, where I feel like, okay, I'm slipping back. How do I get out? How can I get out? And sometimes it was scriptures where it was, okay, someone would just send a scripture, or I'm praying for you, or
Right.
sending something to make me feel like I actually was not alone.
Wow. Wow. And that is important. Like, it was no longer about the mask. It was no longer about what you were doing.
Exactly.
It was no longer about, okay, yes, I'm doing this clothes. I still have a struggle, but I'm being intentional with my relationship
Right.
with God. And so it can be so easy to miss the fact that it starts with the renewal of your mind. And it starts with the transformation in the mind, and that has to be intentional.
Because going through the routine won't get you anywhere.
Tell me about
It won't. It really won't get you anywhere. You have to actually, if you want it, you should go for it.